Okay, this is a reaction video. This is from Mark Goldbridge. That's football. Another Liverpool departure. Now, I do not know what this is about, but he seems to be on a kick on Liverpool nowadays. But let's find out what this is about. That's football. Another Liverpool departure. Please click like, share, and subscribe for Mr. Goldbridge and That's Football, as well as for me. I would appreciate it. Let's see what's going on here.
Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest football news as Liverpool prepare to lose yet another player. Not this summer, next summer, out of contract, could be heading to PSG. Also, the striker that Alan Shearer says Liverpool should sign, Liam Delap. We'll talk about that. And is Arteta about to make a shock move for a player he worked at Man City who's getting on a bit but could be available for free this summer? Leroy Sané. I've also got a very interesting take on the stake of football.
Okay, so he's got a bunch of things here. We got another Liverpool departure is the name of the video, but he's talking about other things as well. So let's see what's going on.
I get your thoughts on this. I'm saying football was better 20 years ago. I'm going to tell you why in a moment. It stopped.
Yeah, I thought it was better 20 years ago too, because I believe Arsenal was winning the FA Cup in 2004-2005 season, and I think they had just won the league the year before. So
started as a Twitter tweet, and it's grown into something big that I think this community can deal with. But look, let's get into some of the news straight away. We were talking about Luis Diaz yesterday for Liverpool and whether he'll be sold in the summer. Did you know that Liverpool could be facing another issue next season similar to Van Dijk, Trent and Salah? Konate is out of contract.
That's a big problem. I mean, look, Liverpool has some problems. Salah, Diaz, Van Dijk. Yeah, they may win the league this year, but they may end up not being in the league discussion for a couple of years after that.
Next summer. Now, for me, I would say he has been one of the most underrated contenders for Player of the Year this season. Van Dijk gets a lot of praise, Salah gets a lot of praise, even the midfielders get a lot of praise. But I think Konate this season has been incredible and would surely be right up there with the likes of Saliba, Gabriel, Van Dijk as the elite centre-backs in the Premier League this season. For Liverpool to lose him, I think he's about 25 now, for next season on a free. You can't keep doing that. Are we seeing the ever-changing of football whereby players' agents are becoming wise to contracts and going, you know what, it's in my interest to run a contract down. It doesn't mean I'm not going to go, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go, it doesn't mean I'm going to stay, but I will earn more money out of it.
You know, here's the thing about contracts, how I see them, okay, and you could look at it differently. Now, yes, if you let the contract roll down, much like Sol Campbell did at Tottenham, okay, once the contract goes down, I mean, you've served your part end of the bargain. You've played for that team. You've served up the contract. Yes, the player leaves on a free. Yes, you don't get anything from that, but you still got something for the length of the contract. Okay, it's not like yes, you're not getting anything in return for the player who leaves because he's leaving on a free, but usually that happens because the contract hasn't been fulfilled. Okay, so that's the double-edged sword. So you see out the contract, you play out the contract, you got something from that player for that contract. Okay, it just died out, and you're not getting anything in return, but you did get something in return. You got that player to play for your team for the length of that contract. I mean, that's another way to look at it.
I will have more freedom out of this. So are Liverpool playing a dangerous game again here? Are Liverpool just playing the right game by saying we're not going to bow to your demands? Or a year to go, I just look at it and it seems that Liverpool have sort of been caught out a lot over the last 18 months with these sort of things, and you don't want to be losing Konate. I mean, especially if Van Dijk.
No, you don't want to be losing him. I mean, you don't want him to leave on a free. You don't want him to leave at all. But but if he does leave, he's fulfilled his deal with the contract. So you really don't have any complaints about it because he fulfilled his contract. He fulfilled what he needed to do.
Dijk's going to go this summer. You can't lose Van Dijk one summer and then Konate the next. Or maybe they both stay, but what I'm saying is it can't be a conversation. You've got to build on these sort of things. And it'll be interesting mentioning Gabriel and Saliba if they are players that Arsenal can hold on and retain for years to come. Also, sticking with Liverpool, do you think about this? Alan Shearer saying that Liam Delap is the striker that Liverpool should go for. Now, when I first heard this, I actually thought, I don't know about that. Liam Delap up front for Liverpool, is that, when you've just won the Premier League, you want to win the Champions League, you want to retain the Premier League next season, is Liam Delap the sort of striker to play for Liverpool? I would reserve judgment on this because I haven't seen enough of him to know if he's got the potential to go and play for Liverpool, but I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing to do.
No, I don't think it's a bad move. Look, if anybody knows strikers, it's Alan Shearer. It's one of those things that's really hard to say because right now you got strikers at Liverpool right now who are playing very well. So why would you? Well, we'll see.
We should never dismiss you look at the Vardys who've come through the lower leagues, or a player that's playing for a team that's going to get relegated. Roy Keane played for Nottingham Forest the year they got relegated and went to Manchester United and became one of the best midfielders the Premier League's ever seen. So it can happen, but I think Liverpool, Liam Delap might just be a little bit Peter Crouch, a little bit like wrong player at the wrong time. Liverpool obviously need to retain the Premier League, compete for the Champions League, and that's when you go for best in class.
Look, Liam Delap is 22. He plays for Ipswich Town. They're going to be relegated this year. There's no question about that. But certainly if he was offered a lifeline to stay in the Premier League and play at Liverpool, he'd jump at it. I mean, there's no question about that. But I don't know if I agree that he's Peter Crouch, but I think he'd be an interesting pickup for Liverpool.
That's where Liam Delap would not be the choice for me. But look, what do you think about that? Is Shearer right? Is Shearer wrong? Moving to Arsenal, very interesting story today. I was looking at this actually. I was looking at this because of the Konate thing. Contracts expiring in 2026, so in a year's time. Interestingly, strikers, Juventus, Vlahovic is one. But another player whose contract actually expires this summer, so he's a free agent in the summer like Jonathan David, who we spoke about yesterday, Leroy Sané. Now, he's been linked to Arsenal, according to reports from Germany.
Now, again, I'm not sure that Sané is a player that Arsenal is going to want or need. Okay. He's available on a free. Yeah, he can come in, but I'm not sure that's a player we need at this point in time.
Germany, Arteta worked with him at Man City. Would Leroy Sané be a good signing for Arsenal? Now, hold the thought for a moment, because I think a lot of people go, no, don't want him. You've got Nwaneri, you've got Saka, you've got Trossard, you've got Martinelli. If you add Leroy Sané to that on a reasonable wage, on a free transfer, I think he's a good player. Would he not just...
I think he's a good player too, but I don't know that we need him. We don't need another winger. Okay, what we need is a striker.
Give Arsenal more options. Sometimes you're not building your first team, you're building your squad. And look, it's not worked out with Raheem Sterling. It's worked out terribly with Raheem Sterling, but maybe Sané could be that sort of Sterling signing that isn't expected to start every week, but brings a level of experience. Now, I don't know what's been going on at Bayern. I don't know what's been going on for Germany. I hear that he's had a few injury issues, but when he was at Man City, there's no doubt that when he's on it, he is a very, very good player. Now, would this be a clever bit of business by Arteta? And I would say, warning, this is not by Sané and nobody else. This is, maybe you get Zubimendi, maybe you get a top-class striker, and you get Sané as well. Would that be the sort of deal that you would think would work for Arsenal? Let me know.
Look, I wouldn't mind Sané signing for Arsenal, but I don't think we need him. Again, we need a striker. We need to address our issues first before we talk about luxuries like Sané.
In the comments there. And then, because it's a Sunday, I want to offer this up. Reflection Sunday with Goldbridge on That's Football. Get your comments in on this. So basically, I put a tweet out earlier, and I'll read it you out. Seriously, go back and watch Premier League games between 96 and 2004 and compare it to now. It was quicker, there was more dribbling, there was more worldies scored, there was more risks take, just a much better watch. We've been conned by this modern way of playing. Now, it's something that we've sort of touched on.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. Okay, I remember the games back then, and I know the games now. I think I don't think that it has necessarily improved. I don't think it's necessarily fallen back. I like football. I like football how it is. I like how it's played nowadays. I like how play was played back then. So I really don't really see anything about going back and watching games back then and seeing them and saying I might enjoy them more than what they are now. Okay, I think football is football.
Before on the podcast and also on this channel, that where have all the worldies gone, where have all the dribblers gone? This is why I've waxed lyrical about people like Morgan Rogers, or when you see a really good goal from outside the box, like that Birmingham goal against Newcastle in the FA Cup. But I have started watching on YouTube and stuff now more longer form highlights, more full games. I actually watched a couple of United games a couple of weeks ago. I watched about half an hour of Man United Newcastle from, I think it was 2005, and I watched the game from the late 90s as well. You can argue the defending is not as good because teams are better organised now, and obviously we're talking about 20, 25 years, nearly 30 years of football evolution. So systems, yes, more organised, passing lanes, etc. But the fundamental, what we want from football, I'm categorically going to say this, was better. We had more flair, more risk-taking, more individualism, more dribbling, more shooting from distance, and more jeopardy. Teams wanted, and also the game wasn't slower. The pitches weren't as good as we have now either, but you watch some United games and they're moving the ball really.
You know, if you look at United back then and you look at United now, it's a different look. United back then, with I think this is before Beckham or after Beckham went to Real Madrid. But if you look at Manchester United then, Manchester United now, it's apples and oranges. Okay, because United was much better under Ferguson, much better shape, much better tactically than they are. So yeah, I can understand why you might like United back then versus United now. But I don't know. Because I look, I love watching Arsenal play under Arsene Wenger, especially in that time period you're talking about, 1998 to 2005, when you had Henry, Vieira, Bergkamp, Wiltord, Pires, Ljungberg. It was fantastic football.
Really well. What I would say is they don't look like they're in control of the ball as much as the modern game, which is more methodical. But the games are better to watch. Now, admittedly, the defending isn't as good, I don't think, but there's more risk, there's more jeopardy, there's more I'm on this football pitch to score goals rather than we're on this football pitch to play the system our manager's brought in. I think there is a conversation to have that, look, nostalgia plays a part. I'm sure people will say that in the chat. It's not about nostalgia. I've still got, hopefully, many years ahead of me to watch football. I've got no preference between the 90s, the noughties. I mean, Man United were a bit shit in the early noughties, to be honest with you. But I have got no preference on it compared to now. I want to just see a better brand of football. And I think we have sort of been conned into believing that now is better than then. And how can it be better? When the games were more exciting, we had more individualism, we had more shooting from distance, and we had arguably a quicker game. Maybe it wasn't quicker. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if it was quicker. I think I was at the Arsenal-Chelsea game last weekend. Okay, I was at that game, and the game moved very, very quickly. So, Lee Judges said the game was boring, but he has the luxury of going to games on a weekly basis. I don't. Okay. I'm in the United States. I traveled over there and I watched that game, and to me it was quick, it was exciting, it was fast-paced. I was on the edge of my seat. It was a fantastic game, even though he thought it was boring. I thought it was a fantastic game, and Arsenal won 1-0.
Maybe it was just the approach to the game was more direct, and it's not long ball, by the way. It's not hoof ball. It's not like that. It's just we're here to play football for 90 minutes and we're here to try and win games. So people are going more on the front foot. Who's to blame for that? Surely in 2025 football should be better, but has it been coached out of people? And look, this goes back to something many of you won't be aware about. I see it with my kids, and they're playing football.
Look, this is a personal preference, okay? I think football is fantastic now. I don't have a problem with it.
Football, like sometimes you'll play one team and the goalkeeper's booting it out there, still booting it long and waiting for a lucky deflection or a bounce. You get some teams who play out from the back. You get some teams that don't want anybody to take anybody on. They just want them to pass. You've got some people who allow people to take people on. But I think at the highest level, it is all about system. Pass. Don't take people on. Don't lose possession. If you lose possession, you're an idiot. And I think that, hopefully we'll see an evolution of football back closer to what it was 20 years ago, because I want to see, we have these players like Yamal, we have these players like Morgan Rogers, and I want to see more players like that who, they're system killers. If somebody gets the ball and takes somebody on, the system doesn't work because someone's got to go to that player that's gone past another player. So get your comments in on that. Lots to discuss. Smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one. Don't forget, tomorrow we've got some really exciting content for you. Baller League launches in London tomorrow. We're going to be there for the launch and the first fixtures. Some fantastic players there, some fantastic coaches there. We're going to be there pitchside live, doing a live stream of all the games for the opening day. So that's football tomorrow from about 4:30 all the way through till just, I think, about 11 o'clock at night. So really excited to be part of that.
Okay, well, like I said, please click like, share, and subscribe for Mark Goldbridge as well as for me. Another Liverpool departure. This is partially Liverpool, partially Arsenal, partially football in the past. But okay, please click like, share, and subscribe for Mr. Mark Goldbridge as well as for me. I would appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.